Pro boxing fans here with legendary promoter Mr. Frank Warren. Frank, how are you keeping today?
I'm doing well, yourself?
Very well, thank you. Daniel Dubois, Ebenezer Tete, September the 29th at the Royal Albert Hall, aka the posh York Hall. I'm not sure Royal Albert Hall will be having that, Frank.
Well, it is what it is. But one thing's for sure, we're going to have a real good night's boxing there on the 27th of September.
Tell us a little bit about Tete, unbeaten, going for the vacant Commonwealth crown, 19-0, I believe. What's he going to bring?
Well, he's fighting this Saturday. He's got a fight in Ghana on Saturday. He's the WBO African champion. Provided he comes through that, the Commonwealth Championships Committee have approved the fight for him to challenge for the vacant title against Daniel. What does he bring? Out of those 19 fights, he's knocked 16 out, and that's not including the fight on Saturday, so we'll see what happens with that one. But he's a bit of a handful. I'm told he's a bit like Latte, and we all see him last time he came over. He came to fight, he was quite exciting, White lasted, which was ironically at the Albert Hall. So I think we're going to have a good night, and for Daniel, it's the opportunity to grab another belt if he can do it.
Absolutely. Also on the card, potentially Nicola Adams, potentially making more history, potentially not only being the first woman to fight for a world title at Royal Albert Hall, but potentially unifying against Argentinian Yudica. Talked about Nicola Adams and what she's doing for women's boxing.
Well, obviously she came into the sport as a British sporting icon, having won 2 gold medals at 2 Olympic Games. She is going to create more history, whatever happens, by defending her world title at the Royal Albert Hall on the 27th. We're hoping it's against the IBF champion if she comes through. She's fighting on the 16th of August. We've tentatively agreed that, and that'll be a unification fight. So it's a big moment for her, and if she comes through and wins that, then you think she's more or less ticks all the boxes as far as her career is concerned.
Also on the undercard, we've got Archie Sharp, maybe the best super feather we've got in the UK at the moment, Frank?
Well, he's a bit lively, isn't he? He's doing everything that's asked of him, and he brings a good crowd with him, so there'll be some atmosphere there. So we'll be announcing his fight soon, and or this week who he's fighting. We've got some other youngsters on there, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them all in action. One
of those youngsters is Dennis McCann. He put on a nice performance on Saturday night over in Belfast. Big plans for Dennis, Frank?
He's only had 3 fights. He's got a way to go. I mean, he came into the sport with his last 17 amateur bouts, having stopped 17 opponents. Dennis the Menace, he's a bit of a handful. He can fight. There's no doubt about that. And I think he's going to have an exciting career. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in action again, especially after that brief appearance he had on Saturday in Belfast. I think it was 30 seconds.
It's definitely an exciting prospect. Quick reflection on Dubois'S performance against Gorman last month. A devastating clinical performance from Dubois.
He boxed really well, First of all, Nathan's no slouch. Nathan's a good boxer, can punch. And for me, that fight was always about who could control it with a jab. And that's what, at the end of the day, Daniel did. He controlled the fight with a jab, and we all know what happened. But it was an excellent win for him when you consider the quality of the opponent that he was facing in Nathan. So now it's onwards and upwards for him. And also, by the way, we're looking to get Nathan out soon.
I was going to say, at 23 years old, this loss is just
not the end of the world for him. I mean, go and ask Damir Khan. He got knocked out in 1 round against Dubois'S Prescott, and 2 fights later won a world title. So it's not the end of the world for him. But for Daniel, this is this is the next next step up for him. This would be his 7th championship belt that he had fought for in only 13 bouts. So that's I think it's a little bit of a record in itself.
British rankings, heavyweight rankings. Where do you rank Dubois at this stage in his career?
Well, obviously you've got Tyson's number 1. You've got to say that Anthony Joshua, depending how he comes back, is probably ranked number 2. Then you've got Dillian Whyte, and I don't know what's going to happen with Dillian Whyte. You see what happens with this B test, the sample test that he's got to have. And then I think it's Daniel. And I've got to be honest, I think if he was going to fight Dillian Whyte tomorrow, I think he would beat Dillian Whyte.
While we're on Dillian Whyte, the saga drags on. What does your gut say in terms of a resolution for this saga, as we say?
I think it's dreadful what's happened in boxing. I think it's dreadful that we're even having this conversation. You can look at every way you like. Somebody tested positive. They have a hearing in secret. They don't inform Rivas, the guy who's stepping in the ring, that he's fighting a guy who tested positive. They're very quick to shout about that the VARDE tests were negative. Then why didn't they tell Rivas he had a negative VARDE test but a positive UCAD test? Do you want to fight him? And let the guy know what he was getting into. They didn't do that. That is unacceptable. On all levels, that's unacceptable to be doing that to any fighter. And remember, when Rivas fought on the night, he's a British licence holder. He comes over to the forum, but he gets a British licence. And you know what went on was dreadful. It was absolutely. It's one of the worst things I've seen in British boxing for a long, long time. And thank God there was nothing seriously happened to Rivas, because it was only that week, wasn't it? There were two tragic fatalities in the ring. We'd never got over that as a sport. And the people who are there to protect the sport and the promoter who's involved should have known better, and they should have told Rivas so he knew exactly what he was walking into.
If I was to put a gun to your head and say, what do you think the resolution is going to be, what would you say? What's your gut telling you?
Well, I don't understand why the B test hasn't been come out already. Why didn't they? They could have got that tested. They knew they knew the drugs that were found positive in the first test, in the A sample. So why didn't they just get them done quickly? You can turn that around in 24, 36 hours. Why wasn't it done? Then there wouldn't have been a problem. You know, so that's what it is. But we haven't even heard. And what is it now? 2 weeks later, still no one knows what's happened to the B sample. And all this rubbish about these letters all flying about saying about, you know, privacy for Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte's been the most vociferous, one of the most vociferous fighters, accusing other boxers of taking drugs. You know, Anthony Joshua, for example, has accused a lot of them. And I look at that and I just think to myself, what right do you have to privacy? If you're saying that about other boxers, then you're in the same boat.
Moving on to your amicable split with Billy Joe Saunders. Billy's been with you for a long time. My first question is, what was the sort of deciding factor in letting Billy go?
Well, we got a contract in place, and we both sort of looked at it long and hard, and I felt and he felt it was time for us to do something different. You know, I guided him to the British, Commonwealth, European, 2 world title fights. He had a lot of problems in between, weight issues. He had obviously the problem of him being to vacate the title because of that stuff in Massachusetts, and a couple of other personal things that happened outside the ring. And I thought we lost the momentum, a lot of momentum, and trying to make it up and trying to make, tried to make the fight with Callum Smith and so forth. And I just felt, from my perspective, that I got other things that I want to be doing, and the same thing for him. But I wish him well. We're still good friends. I think he's capable of beating anybody out there on his day. If he's 100%, I think he'll beat all these guys. And I hope he goes on and does that.
Boxing leaves a little time for sentiment, but from a personal level, you've had Billy for a long time. Were you sort of emotionally sad to see him go?
I was. I mean, he said it in his own words. It's a bittersweet moment for both of us. It comes. Sometimes things happen, and you've got to sit down and look at it. I could have gone on and could have got him. He had a mandatory coming up, gone through that. But we were looking for bigger fights as well. Some of these fights are not. The fans might say, "Oh, how comes he's fighting this guy?" Well, that's the only opponent we get. Or if we're stuck in a mandatory, that's no good for us. So at the end of the day, we sat down with him, his management team, MTK, and that's what we decided that we would do.
Speaking of opponents, moving on again, Tyson Fury. Otto Wallin is the name, a Swedish unbeaten heavyweight. Seems to be the one being reported for Fury's date in September. What can you tell us, Frank?
I can't tell you anything at the moment. I've seen all the reports. I can't do anything because when the press release will be made for the fight, will be done simultaneously with everybody involved. Sorry, can't help you on that one.
YARDE KOVALEV, all systems go for August 24th?
Yeah, Anthony's really got a bit between his teeth. All this, is it on, is it off, and all these things about Canelo fighting Kovalev. He's been focused on and has been training very hard for this fight, and it's the fight he wants. And so much so he's going to the other guy's backyard. I mean, this is a big call for him. It's a tough job that he's got. But you know what? He can pull it off. He's a great puncher. He's got great self-belief. He's a tremendous athlete. And if he catches Kovalev, he'll take him out. Right, Warren, thank you for speaking to Pro Boxing fans, and we look forward to all the cards that are coming up.
Cheers, young mate.